You know that face, right? The man in the moon. It's been looking down on us forever. But what if I told you that familiar face is only half the story? It's hiding a secret, and it's a big one. The side we never see, the far side, tells a completely different and much more violent story about its past.
And whoa, just look at this difference. On the right, that's the moon we all know and love, with all those big, dark, smooth patches of old lava. But then you look to the left, at the far side, and it's just chaos. It's rugged, it's battered with craters, and those smooth plains are almost nowhere to be seen. It's not just a different view. It's like looking at two completely different worlds that got stuck together.
So this brings us to the big question, the one that's been bugging scientists for decades. Why? I mean, how does one single moon end up with two totally different faces? This is a genuine 4.5 billion-year-old mystery, and today we're going to try and unravel it. All right, so there's a fancy scientific term for this. It's called a hemispheric dichotomy. And let me tell you, the moon is the poster child for it in our solar system. But here's the kicker. This isn't just skin deep. These differences point to something fundamental, something deep down in the moon's very formation and evolution. Let's really break it down. The near side has a thinner crust. That made it easy for hot magma to bubble up and spill out, creating those huge dark lava plains we call Maria. The far side, though, its crust is about 12 miles or 20 kilometers thicker. Think of it like a massive shield that stopped most of the volcanoes in their tracks, which is why it's still covered in all those ancient battered craters. For years and years, all our theories were based on looking from afar, or from samples we got from the near side, the wrong side for this mystery. To really crack this case, we needed to get our hands on the evidence. We needed a piece of the far side itself. And that, my friends, is where a new hero enters our story. And here it is, the absolutely spectacular launch of China's Chang'e 6 mission. This was the start of a whole new chapter in exploring the moon. This wasn't just another flight. This was the first mission ever designed to land on the far side, scoop up some samples, and bring them all the way back to Earth. A truly historic undertaking. And you know what? It was a massive success. First, they had to launch a special relay satellite so they could even talk to the far side. Then, on June 2nd, the lander aced its touchdown in a huge crater called the South Pole Aitken Basin. And get this, just a few weeks later, on June 25th, it came screaming back to Earth with the goods, nearly 2,000 grams of absolutely priceless lunar material. I mean, just think about that for a second. For the very first time in human history, scientists could actually hold and study a physical piece of the moon's hidden half. This wasn't just another space rock. This was the key that could finally unlock one of the solar system's biggest puzzles. So, what did they find? Well, analyzing these samples is basically like opening a geologic time capsule. The chemistry, the structure of these tiny rocks, it all holds direct evidence of what was going on deep inside the moon's mantle billions of years ago. And the very first big discovery was a shocker. The minerals in the far side samples showed they formed from lava that was a staggering 180 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than similar volcanic rocks from the near side. That is a huge difference, and it told scientists that this wasn't some surface-level thing. This was a clue coming from deep, deep inside the moon. Okay, so take a look. This is what the scientists were seeing under the microscope. These are little fragments of basalt, volcanic rock, from the far side, and they're about 2.8 billion years old. Their crystal structure is what holds the secrets. It's like a tiny, natural thermometer that recorded the temperature when it formed, telling that story of a much cooler interior. But the temperature was just the beginning. The samples revealed a whole bunch more. They showed a long and unique history of volcanism on the far side, totally different from the near side. They also showed signs of unique space weathering, which suggests the far side gets blasted more by the solar wind. And, most importantly, the rock chemistry showed it was missing the fuel, those key radioactive elements that generate heat. So, let's put it all together. We have a thicker crust, no big lava plains, way cooler magma, and a serious lack of radioactive fuel. All of these clues are pointing to one single culprit. It's time to connect the dots and solve what scientists call the KREEP mystery. So, what on earth is KREEP? It sounds like a comic book character, but it's actually an acronym for a cocktail of stuff rich in potassium, rare earth elements, and phosphorus. All you need to know is that these elements are radioactive, so they produce heat. A lot of it. You can basically think of KREEP as the moon's internal furnace. Its location is everything.
And bingo! This is exactly what the Chang'e 6 samples confirmed. They showed that the basalts they collected came from a magma source that was seriously poor in KREEP. The far side is cooler because its internal furnace is missing. So, the billion-dollar question is, where did all the KREEP go? Well, the leading theory is absolutely epic. Billions of years ago, a colossal object slams into the far side, creating that giant South Pole Icon basin. This impact sends a massive heat wave ripping through the moon's interior. The KREEP material, which was the last gooey part of the mantle to solidify, essentially surfs this heat wave, getting pushed and concentrated all on one side, the near side. This single event set the stage for billions of years of lopsided evolution.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a huge deal. As Matt Jones from Brown University said, figuring this out is arguably the most significant open question in lunar science. And now, the Chang'e 6 samples have provided the very first direct, physical evidence that supports this giant impact theory.
So we have a really compelling solution to a 4.5 billion-year-old mystery. Pretty cool, right? But why does understanding the moon's two faces really matter so much for us, way back here on Earth?
Well, it's because the moon is like our anchor for the history of the whole solar system. Its scars tell the story of the violent, early days of our cosmic neighborhood. And thanks to these samples, we can now put a precise date on that giant far-side impact, 4.25 billion years ago. That one date helps us calibrate the entire timeline for impacts on early Earth, Mars, and beyond. It refines our entire understanding of how planets evolve. So, the big takeaway is this. The moon is not just some simple, uniform rock floating in space. It is a complex, dynamic world with a dramatic, lopsided history that's written deep in its interior. A history that we are just now, finally beginning to read, thanks to these first samples from the far side. And that leaves us with one last fascinating question. If a single ancient impact could so profoundly alter the evolution of an entire world, creating two completely different faces, what other incredible stories are out there waiting to be discovered, hidden in the ancient craters of Mars, Mercury, and beyond? The moon has just reminded us that even our closest neighbor still has some profound secrets to share.